Hello everyone, Diane Canfield. I'm back with another video. I wanted to talk about the Ascension Symptoms we've been going through for the past, since 1st of August, but more recently, the past few weeks. We've had 5 days of geomagnetic storms, which have been producing intense heat, extreme tiredness, and intense dreams. And now the extreme heat we have had before, and some people are confused about what this heat is. The heat is actually burning off the 3D consciousness and replacing it with 5D consciousness inside of ourselves. And it basically, we have to burn through what's old and no longer works anymore. So this is where the intense heat is coming from. And the heat has been super intense this time. So I'm not talking about standing outside in the summer and being hot like we always do. I'm talking about being inside, being in air conditioning, and sweating and not being able to get cooled off, even with regular temperatures of 72 to 76, no matter what your thermostat is on, just going through intense heat all the time. So this is something new. This is something brand new where the intense heat goes on and on and on, and there's really no way to get cool. And this has been going on about, I'd probably say, the last 2 weeks. It actually came in a little bit before the geomagnetic storm started. Now, there's also days of extreme tiredness coming in here where we have full body aches and pains and we feel like we can't do anything. We can't even walk. I had a day, I posted on my Facebook page about maybe about a week ago or so, where I couldn't move off my chair. It was in the evening and I couldn't move off my chair. And my whole body was aching so bad I couldn't move. And these are all Ascension symptoms. I've had every Ascension symptom you could possibly think of, and I've had many more Ascension symptoms, extreme, that I haven't talked about yet, but I will, because I need to do an article about the extreme symptoms that many could be experiencing now, that I experienced probably back in 2013. But this is how it works. In other words, not everybody experiences the same thing at the same time, because it depends on how long you've been in the ascension process, how hard you're working on deleting all your shadow programs, the programs that don't work for you, and how hard you're working at being your authentic self, which is what the ascension process is all about. So I'm not talking about the self that has ended up as a program conditioned illusion self. I'm talking about the real authentic person that you were when you were a child. That is the real person that you were before all the trauma, before all the issues, before all the baggage, before all of this. And this is what, for the ascension process, this is what we all have to become. This is what we are all becoming. And whether we want to or not, the energy is coming in to make sure that this is what happens to every one of us. And some people have more trouble than others, because if you're not doing the inner work on yourself, then the ascension process will make sure you do, and they'll find a way, the energy will find a way to make sure you do. Now, extreme insights are coming in also. So they're coming in through the geomagnetic storms and the energy and the timeline shift, and they're coming in with all of that. And these insights are showing us what has happened to us in the past, why it happened, how we may have gotten out of alignment, and how we can fix ourselves in alignment again. So now you must pay really close attention to these insights when they come in, and you must go back and back and back with them. So in other words, insight comes in, you have a moment of real clarity, and you're like, oh, okay, I am now understanding, I'm now being shown something that I didn't understand before. Now you have to trace that insight back, and you have to go back to when it happened, and you have to go back to why it happened, and you have to resolve it within yourself. So this is partly how growth occurs within a person, is that you have to understand what happened, you have to understand the reason it happened, and then you have to resolve the karma that's attached to that situation so that it can be resolved and you can heal from it and you can move on from it. And this is also a way to shift timelines within yourself, because once you heal all of your past traumas, they no longer exist in your timeline. And so the way that I always tell people in my client sessions is how you know you are healed is you won't have any strong emotion anymore attached to that incident that occurred for you. And I have a whole nother way of a technique for completely healing all past issues, but that's something that I do in my sessions. I can't get into that right now, but that's something I do in my sessions. And there's a technique you can go through, and you will automatically start healing all your past trauma, and that's how you start to become your authentic self, is by healing past traumas. So that's why we're having these insights coming in, and these insights are many times related to past traumas, so that we can heal them, so that we have more information coming in, so that we can get past them, and so that we can move forward in the ascension process. And this is something everyone has to do, and everyone is being forced to do, whether they really want to or not. And, sometimes these come in at the most inconvenient times, but we have to work with it, and we have to do it. We have to do it anyway. Now, on the same kind of subject, there's been a lot of relation trauma recently. And this is because we're starting now to see the other person in the relationship that we're in for who they really are. And we may have been somewhat blinded in the past to who they were. And as we become more of who we really are, we then can see others for who they really are. And then we become, we take the blinders off and we start to see them. But as we go through this doesn't mean that everyone has to break up with their partner because they have trouble with them. They can, continue to work out whatever issues they have with them and try to get their needs met. Many relationships break up because the needs aren't being met. And one person then believes that the other person doesn't care about them because they're not meeting their needs. But this isn't always true, because some people don't know how to meet others' needs, and they don't know what others' needs are. And many times they're so wrapped up in their own trauma that they can't give enough to the other person. So this is why we also have to make sure that we are meeting our own needs as much as we can. So we have to meet our own needs and not rely on the other person to meet 100% of our needs. Yes, being in a relationship is about getting your needs met, but you shouldn't be getting all your needs met through the other person. You should be meeting your own needs. And both people need to have, part of their own life separate from the other person, because otherwise it becomes too much about just a relationship and not about each person doing growth within themselves and looking for what they need to advance themselves, which may not include both people, because only one person has experienced, their past. So that person needs to completely concentrate on their past and go through the healing process in order to move forward. So sometimes you may have periods where you're closer to the person that you're in a relationship, and sometimes you may not feel as close. And that doesn't mean that you have to break up over this. You have to go through the rough times and the good times together. And so if you have enough in common, and that's one of the most crucial elements of a relationship, is to have enough in common with the other person. That's a very crucial relationship, and that's in common outside of your relationship together. So common goals, common interests, things of that nature. Now, we are still in the middle of the timeline shift, and this started in August. So the timeline shift has to do with timelines actually shifting in order for us to move dimensions. And they start shifting first, and there's some clues as to shifting timelines. One is the Mandela effect, which I've talked about in my articles about the recent celebrities that have died. There's been 3 so far this last few weeks, and they have already died before. And the next one is time loss or time gain. So you may have experienced both. So some days will seem too long, and some days will seem too short, but then you can also have actual time loss and time gain, where you look at the clock and it's 20 minutes has passed and you didn't experience that 20 minutes. And that happens to me a lot. I've talked about this in these other videos. Now, one of the other things for timeline shifts is that things may reappear, disappear, and reappear. This has been happening recently too. So you might have put something on a table and you look for that item on the table. This has happened so many times to me. So you look for this item on the table. You know you put it on the table. You look all over on the table. It's not there. Okay. So then you go and search the house, and you search all over everywhere in the house, and you cannot find this item. You come back and say, okay, I'm going to retrace my steps. So I'm going to look everywhere again. And you look on the table, and there it is. The item is sitting there on the table. And this is timeline shifts, where things go in and out of our reality. They kind of go in and out, kind of like celebrities dying and then celebrities reappearing again. So everything kind of goes in and out. So remember that our reality is not stagnant. Our reality is fluid, and things are always changing, and things are always moving, and things are always going in and out anyway. But we have different times, like now when we're in an extreme timeline shift, and then we'll see more of the extreme symptoms of this like we're seeing now. So now we also, during these timeline shifts, have severe weather patterns showing up. And we can see there's been severe weather recently. And so those are some of the things. There's more things, but those are a few of the things that how timeline shift makes itself known. So I just wanted to give a video update on all the things that are going on right now for everybody that maybe is not on Facebook or doesn't have a Facebook page, but you can't follow me on Facebook. It's Diane Canfield, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. And that way you'll get all the energy updates. You can also check out my website. It's dianecanfield.com. I am trying to do more videos and keeping everyone informed, and I can reach a wider audience this way, because the more people who are informed of what's going on energetically, the more can make progress, and the more that can make progress within the ascension process, the faster we can get to higher consciousness for everyone. So it helps everyone to get more information out there, real information about what's really happening in the ascension process. So I will keep everyone updated as things go along. I'm watching these geomagnetic storms right now. They've kind of died off. I'm going to see if they start up again. And I'm waiting to see what's going to happen. So I'll keep everyone informed. So love and blessings.